We had some shock results last week, and round 5 has the potential to throw up a few more. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. URC Round 5, we're going to start with the Friday night games. So first up we have Ulster versus the Lions. This kicks off at 7:35 GMT. It's 4th place Ulster versus 12th place the Lions. Ulster with 3 wins and 1 loss so far this season. The Lions with basically the mirror, just the 1 win and 3 defeats. But that 1 win did come last week against the Scarlets. So, win this one and suddenly fortunes turn around. They're on a bit of a run themselves. Also, though, off the back of that hard-fought win against Munster last week at Kingspan, they fell behind, but were able to work their way back into the game. And we've seen the Lions be competitive but not be able to kind of kill games off, and that's they managed to do it last week, but they've failed to do it against the Stormers early on in the season, and this might be another one where they struggle here. But one thing, good thing for them, is that Ulster, we looked at in our stats, Ulster the joint worst line out in the entire URC at 78% alongside the Stormers, and the Lions respectable up there, 91% in 4th place. So Ulster are going to have to sort their line out if they don't want to the Lions to basically have, forgive the pun, the Lions share of possession from the line out. So that's going to be an interesting one to see whether Ulster can sort it out, or whether the Lions can actually make a bit of hay from that. Certainly would be one avenue they should be looking at to get one over on Ulster in that one. Next down on Friday, same time, we got 11th place Zebre versus 13th place Cardiff. So 2 teams, with just the 1 win so far this season. Zebre coming last week when they beat the Sharks, that first win in like 18 months. Potentially though, Cardiff haven't looked like great shakes this season, especially away from home. Potentially, and it is potential only, but Zebre could actually win 2 games on the bounce in the URC. Like, if that happens, maybe the world is going to end. I'm not too sure, but it's definitely possible. And we talked about the line out for Ulster. Zebre, 2nd best line out in the entire league, 94% for them. And Cardiff won the worst as well. They're down to 14th on 80%. So certainly something again for Zebre to build on in that game. And if they can actually use that, potentially again, that win is there for them. But we've seen them go close. They actually went close against Ulster in the first round as well. Couldn't close it out. Now that they've shown they can do it, can they do it again is going to be the big key. But those line-out stats as well, I did a video on that, which actually has some footage of the games as well to kind of demonstrate what we're talking about in that. So maybe you'll go and check that out on the channel. Lots of work put into that. It's a new format that I'm trying out, and I'm kind of seeing how much interest it actually gains from people, whether it's going to be worth the effort of making it. It's certainly fun to make them, but it takes a long time to do it. So if people really are interested in it, I'd love if you go over, maybe share that video or click like on or whatever. But yeah, great chance for Zebre, I think, for 2 wins in a row. Cardiff though, they're desperate for a win as well. We have to remember that too. Like, they struggled last season and they left it late to make a run to try and get into the playoffs, and they didn't make it there. They did win the Welsh Shield, which got them qualified for the Champions Cup this year, but that's no longer an avenue anymore. You've got to finish in at least the top 8 now to qualify for Europe. There's no Shield winners guaranteed places anymore there. The other Friday game then is 8th place Edinburgh versus the 1st place Bulls. And, these two are actually very close in the table. They've got the identical record this season, 3 wins and 1 loss. Just that the Bulls have, some heavy victories for them, some big wins have got them those bonus points that keep them 3 points above Edinburgh. But that's how close it is at the moment. 1st place to 8th place, every team in there, apart from actually Munster, have won at least or have won 3 games. Munster have two wins and a draw though, so not too far behind for them either. But yeah, this is another tight one. Edinburgh, they won that tight game against Connacht last week. Well deserved of the victory there as well. The Bulls, we've seen them at home kind of running rampant a little bit, but this is certainly an opportunity for Edinburgh. They started last season very well, and they just failed to keep that momentum going. This is a good chance for them to show that they've learned from that and they can actually produce, especially at home, in the Hive Stadium. I think what did that used to be called? It doesn't sound, whatever, it didn't used to be called the Hive. I think it didn't used to be called the Hive Stadium last year, at least I didn't call it that. But against the Bulls, they're top of the league for a reason, because they've been scoring a lot of tries. Edinburgh have not been doing that, and that's why they're then in 8th places, because they haven't been scoring enough tries to actually get bonus points, even though they've been winning games. But they do have a lot of experience this year now in winning those tight ones. So if they can keep it tight, I think they've got every chance. If it was a tri-fest though, I'd honestly be looking towards the Bulls to win that one. Into the Saturday games then, we've got the Sharks. One or two teams still haven't won this season so far against Connacht. Connacht have had fantastic start to the season so far. This is 16th versus 5th, so Sharks sitting rock bottom of the table. They got their one match point of the season last time out against Zebre, and getting that losing bonus point, but they suffered the ignominy of being the team that got beaten by Zebre, a team that hadn't won in 18 months. So, but we talked about in the stats video for the line out, Sharks actually have the best line out in the competition, and there are actually signs as well that they're beginning to kind of click a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised, and Connacht fans will probably back me up on this, that Connacht have been going so well that this is the kind of game that they'll drop. They're just like that. They're so inconsistent. And, the Sharks at home, they've obviously worked on a lot of stuff. Again, that line out is going really well for them. But Connacht, interestingly, have the most steals in the entire competition as well. So Sharks probably won't have it all their own way in the line out, and that's going to be a very interesting area to watch there. Connacht, we've seen them as well. They kind of score in bursts. So Sharks, if they can get a lead and deny Connacht that chance to kind of burst again back into the game and just keep that scoreboard ticking over, this could be their first win of the season. Connacht really would be a statement win, even though, listen, Sharks, they might be bottom of the table, they're still a quality side. So if Connacht were able to go there and get a win, that would be a big statement for them. It would mean that they've won 4 of their opening 5 games as well, and basically saying we are serious contenders for the title this year. If they drop it, as maybe a lot of people are expecting, that will actually happen and Sharks get that first win of the season, it's going to be more of a case of same old Connacht, really. The next one then, so that's the early game on Saturday at 3 o'clock kickoff. Then at 5:15 we have the Dragons versus Ospreys. Dragons, another team who have not won yet this season. They put in some decent performances though. Even last time out against Leinster, they were beaten well, but you could see again that there's a core of a decent performance in that team, and they just need to put everything together and welcoming the Ospreys, who had like a bit of a mixed start to the season, I think it's fair to say, like 2 wins, 2 losses for them. So it's certainly one that the Dragons would feel they do have a chance in. Ospreys might be slight favourites just because of the fact that they have those wins under their belt, but Dragons, if they can put in some, get an early lead maybe and just keep building on it from there and just deny the Ospreys. The Ospreys we've seen, they're really good at running the ball and exploiting turnovers as well. So Dragons have to deny them turnover ball in that case. But if they can do all of that, then there's no reason why they can't get their first win of the season. But honestly, I think maybe Ospreys are going to shade this and just kind of get back up there in the mix for those playoff spots. Then probably on paper, the tie of the round, repeat of last year's final, Munster in 7th place versus the Stormers in 9th. So Munster, as I said, 2 wins, that draw against Benetton, and then 1 defeat last week against Ulster. Then you got the Stormers, who got 2 wins and 2 defeats, so a very mixed start to the season for them. But this is one of these ones where whoever wins this is right back up there at the sharp end. Whoever loses is kind of dragged back into that kind of middle pack and trying to find a proper run of form, really. So both teams coming into this game on the back of losses as well. Munster, as I said, that defeat against Ulster. Stormers have actually lost their last 2 games. So last week, just let me find it here. Obviously that defeat against Benetton, famous win for Benetton. They went down 2017, and then the week before then they went down 20 points to 9 against Glasgow. So after a decent start to the season for them, now they absolutely do not want to go have a run of 3 defeats on the bounce, because that's going to be tough on them in terms of then having to kind of bounce back and get a run of form. But we've seen with the Stormers, they absolutely can put that run together, but we're used to seeing them at the sharp end of the table. Munster last year started poorly and came towards the end, but now this is a chance for them to get a decent start to this season as well. So this is a big game for these 2 teams, and I think it's going to be an epic encounter because of that. Stormers will obviously want to avenge last year's final defeat as well, but Munster, they want to show at home at Thomond Park, that we've still got it. Last year wasn't a flash in the pan. Next, then we have probably the tie. If Munster Stormers is the kind of big glamour tie of the round, this is probably the tie in terms of the teams who've had the best start to the season going up against each other. So you've got Glasgow Warriors in 3rd place. They've 3 wins and a loss for them. Then you've got Benetton there in 6th place, who are still unbeaten for the season. They're the only team left who haven't been beaten this season. They've got 3 wins and a draw, and but for the fact that they're not getting that many bonus points, these guys would actually be leading the way top of the table. If they picked up 2 bonus win points, try bonus points, should I say, sorry, they would be on 16 match points and they would be ahead of the pack. And it's just the fact that they've had low scoring games, or at least the try count has been low in the games, that they haven't been able to kind of push that a little bit more. But they're on a great run of form, but they're against Glasgow, a team Glasgow I think are very similar to Ulster in that they've been thereabouts for the last few seasons, threatening to get into a final and potentially pick up a trophy, but it hasn't quite come off for them. And they've got to be thinking, I think, almost every season now, that this could be the season for us where we actually make that breakthrough. And again, it's top of the table clashes like this where you've got to come out on top to show your pedigree for stuff like that. And Benetton, before it used to be that going away to Benetton was, a tough assignment, but they would be a bit wishy-washy on the road. But they've certainly improved away from home as well, and they're going to give the Warriors a big game of this one. But I think Warriors at home, probably going to see Benetton suffer their first defeat of the season, and Glasgow stick up there, right in those top 3 places at the sharp end of the table. The final game that we have then, interestingly enough, no Sunday games this week. So Saturday game as well, 7:35 kickoff for this one, and it's Leinster versus Scarlets. So Leinster's in second place, Scarlets in 14th. So Scarlets with just that one victory so far this season. Leinster with 3, but we haven't really seen Leinster kind of hitting their straps yet this season. They've kind of been I'd say kind of efficient rather than spectacular is how I'd put it in terms of their wins. Like last week against the Dragons, it was just almost felt like it was inevitable that they were going to win the game once they got over for that early score through Sheehan, and then Sheehan's involvement as well in whose try was it? Frawley's try, right? His involvement in that one was just amazing. Like winning the winning the turnover first of all by picking up the loose ball as the Dragons were attacking, then offloading out of the tackle, getting back up and busting his ass to go from inside his own half, diagonally across the pitch as well to get into position to then exchange passes with Frawley's in the right hand corner for Frawley to go for the try. Just amazing work rate for him, and skills in there as well was really good to see. But in this game, so the Scarlets narrowly lost last week against the Lions, but they shipped a couple of really big defeats in, I think, was it the Stormers and the Bulls? I think both hammered them in the opening rounds. They have that one victory against Cardiff from round 3 as well, but I don't think they're going to add to that here. It's going to be maybe a long evening for them. I think Leinster, this might be the game where they kind of really spark into life this season, and we see them cut loose a little bit. But one thing about Leinster that I've noticed in the last kind of last season especially, is that they're not as ruthless as they used to be. Leinster before, if they were beating a team well, they would just keep going, they keep scoring. But what we've seen of them kind of, part of this season, but especially last season, is that they tend to take the foot off the throat a bit more than they used to, and teams tend to outscore them then in that last kind of 10-15 minutes if they've already kind of won the game well. Now we're kind of assuming here that they will be in that position, but I have a feeling that Leinster are kind of going to cut loose a little bit against the Scarlets. So let's see if that happens. But if Scarlets could go there to the RDS and pull off a win there, that would be a huge feather in their cap. But again, there's some big games on this weekend, but also big opportunities for upsets. That Scarlets one is definitely a chance, at least for them to upset. Probably still, even though they haven't won the title in 2 seasons now, still everybody's favourite, Leinster, to win the title again this year. But some big fixtures again this weekend, and it's just a pity really that a lot of people are still probably feeling that Rugby World Cup fatigue, and I imagine a lot of people aren't going to kind of come back to regular rugby until Champions Cup kicks in a little while. But if you're not watching the URC at the moment, you're missing some really entertaining games. And I think this weekend is going to be just more of that for us to enjoy.